Hey guys, it's the Melblade 5, and I have been waiting so long to do this! 2019 has had plenty of things that I've desperately wanted to discuss to get them off my chest, and this urge hasn't gotten any stronger than with the rising of the Shield Hero. I've had this show on my mind ever since the beginning, even before wanting to make a video on it, and no matter how hard I try, my thoughts keep coming back to it. I previously talked a bit about Shield Hero in my Is the Isekai Genre Bad video, where I said that I loved it so far. Well, that opinion has not changed one bit since then. I love the show so much. I went in with no real expectations, but I became so interested and invested from the very first episode, and those feelings kept paying off time and time again with every subsequent episode, resulting in said feelings becoming as strong as they are now. This led to my desire of giving Shield Hero its own video developing quite early on, which I've kept for all this time. It was honestly a toss-up between doing this or Golden Wind first, and I felt Golden Wind made more sense after doing 2 JoJo videos back to back, but just like Golden Wind, I have been planning parts of this video's script months in advance. That's how much I've wanted to talk about it. So I imagine that this will also be a fairly long video, as there's so much about Shield Hero that I love, so I don't want to skim over any of the reasons why. I first discovered this series when the Crunchyroll upload of the trailer popped up in my recommended back in December. I watched the trailer, but upon the video ending, I immediately forgot everything that was in the trailer. I have no idea what happened. It's like I was hit with amnesia. All I learned was that it was an isekai from seeing several comments, but based on the title, I figured that it was a standard, run-of-the-mill underdog story, as I imagine that everyone would think he's weak because he fights with a shield. However, I was interested in checking it out when it releases due to pure curiosity. Then I didn't learn it had come out until the day after the first episode aired, but upon learning that, I instantly went and watched the first episode, going in completely blind. Little did I know of the crazy journey I was about to get into. That journey being guided by this show's protagonist, Naofumi Iwatani. Now I'm going to do things a bit differently here. What I love about Naofumi's character is how his character evolves throughout the story as he reacts to the different experiences he goes through. So I don't think I would do him much justice if I were to give my entire impressions on his character in one section like I usually do. So instead, I'll be spreading it out across this video. At first, he's very upbeat and adventure-hungry like your average anime protagonist. But that quickly changes as no one wants to be in his party because he's stuck with the shield. Except for one girl named Sophia. There is not a single word in the English language that fully conveys how much I despise this bitch! Starting off, she seems nice, but when she started being shifty at the inn, a bunch of red flags went up for me. However, not even I could have predicted what she would do. She steals all of Naofumi's belongings, and even worse, accuses him of raping her. Now the entire kingdom treats Naofumi like shit because they blindly believe her and think he's a rapist. But already slandering Naofumi's name wasn't enough for mine. She actively tries to make Naofumi's life a living hell whenever possible for no good reason, by finding more ways to slander him, constantly berating and verbally abusing him, and making sure that he always suffers no matter what, all for her own sick pleasure and benefit, when he did nothing even remotely bad to her. All while she shows how much of a stuck-up bitch she is by acting like she's superior to everyone else and talking down to Naofumi and anyone else she remotely dislikes, which is most people. But it gets even worse! Her real name is Melty Melremark, and she's the princess of the kingdom! I never would have imagined a princess being this sinister and sadistic. Plus, she even uses her position as the princess to manipulate others to carry out her sadistic and corrupt plans. I could keep going on about everything I hate about her for ages. She makes my blood boil whenever she's on screen. Though part of that is due to this scenario being slightly reminiscent of something that happened to me. I've told this story once before, but for a brief recap, back in secondary school, a girl from the year above me falsely accused me of punching her, and from then on, she and the entire upper year of the school made my life hell over it. Of course, Naofumi was accused of something far more serious, but the basic premise of a girl lying about him and everybody treating him like shit because of it was the same. As such, I strongly related to Naofumi's situation, which made me all the more pissed off to see him go through this due to knowing what it's like. And in Naofumi's case, nobody comes faster to Mind's defense than the spear hero, Motoyasu Kitamura. God, I hate Motoyasu! Just like Naofumi, at first I thought he was in on the false accusation plot, which already made me strongly dislike him. But it turned out he wasn't. He's just a really gullible idiot! I still dislike him just as much. He believes anything that Mind tells him, no matter how absurd the claim is, and without any evidence to support it. Even when there's clear proof that suggests otherwise, he still sticks with the view that Naofumi is a monster. He always belittles Naofumi and mocks him, which pisses me off even more. Furthermore, he acts all self-righteous by believing that everything he thinks and does is what's truly just, as if he knows better than everyone else, and that he's never wrong. I honestly hate people like that in general. Additionally, to go back to my story, there was this one guy who was the most active in harassing me, and Motoyasu does remind me a lot of that jerk, which further plays into why I hate him so much. While Motoyasu wasn't involved with the false accusation, the king certainly was! I already hated this guy for not letting Naofumi defend himself when being accused, but upon learning that he was in on it, I thought, okay, this guy can go fuck himself. As much as it angered me to see Naofumi thrown into these circumstances, this was actually what made me so interested in the show. I found the idea of an isekai where the protagonist starts at rock bottom with everybody hating him to be very unique. That being reflected in Naofumi's character at this point due to the impacts the accusation has on his mental health. He's now very cold and bitter to everybody as he doesn't trust anyone out of fear of being betrayed again. Not only does this make Naofumi stand out compared to other isekai protagonists, but this also reminded me of myself in a way, as in a separate incident, someone who I had considered a friend completely stabbed me in the back, mocked and slandered me. As a result, for months afterwards, I couldn't trust anybody and became paranoid, thinking that anyone who did want to be friendly with me would just do the same. The show speaks to me on multiple levels. As nobody wants to be around Naofumi, and out of desperation of needing a party member that can fight, he has no other choice but to use the services of a slave merchant, who looks kinda like Dr. Eggman. This takes me to the best thing to come out of this situation. Raphtalia. Getting to this part, I thought, this is Japan, so of course we'd have an animal girl. However, I underestimated how amazing this raccoon girl is. She starts off all scared and sickly, but thanks to Naofumi, she was able to overcome her trauma from her parents' death during the first wave, and matured both mentally and literally. Now she's kind of a stoic badass who looks out for Naofumi on an equal level, while still maintaining a level of cute factor. A big part of what I love about Raphtalia is the chemistry between her and Naofumi and how they play off one another. When seeing that Naofumi was going to get a young girl companion, I hoped it would be an opportunity for him to open up and become a little less cold, kind of like a Jafar and Nino situation. It's why I was so eagerly waiting for episode 2's release. This was where all my feelings of interest started to pay off, as early on, I got exactly what I hoped. One important thing to note is that Raphtalia is Naofumi's slave in name only, as he doesn't treat her like a slave at all. I love how this shows that while Naofumi's heart has severely hardened, he still has a bit of his kind nature from before he was accused. It means that his old self hasn't completely gone, and that he isn't outright heartless through being able to show kindness to people who aren't assholes to him, despite how much he tells himself that he's only doing this for his own benefit. It's because of that Raphtalia was able to become a much stronger person, and it pays off, as this leads to what I absolutely love about Raphtalia the most, being her complete, undying loyalty and support to Naofumi. This is most apparent in episode 4, which was the moment where I truly fell in love with this show. Naofumi is at his lowest point mentally, after losing the duel to Moriyasu because of Mine interfering and hallucinating that Raphtalia has abandoned him. Thinking that he's lost everything again, Naofumi completely snaps. But history shall not repeat itself! Raphtalia stands up for Naofumi. Then she tells him that she believes him, how she knows how kind he is, how he saved her and gave her a reason to live, how she'll always defend him and tell anyone who thinks ill of him what he's really like, and most importantly, that she'll always stand by his side and fight for him no matter what. When Naofumi was at the deepest pit of despair, Raphtalia was there to pull him out of that and help him break out of his hatred-induced psychosis. This takes me to the main thing I love about Shield Hero: the interactions between the main characters. There are tons of moments like this, even smaller subtle ones, when Naofumi is saved from being consumed by hatred, which works in tandem with his character growth, as having people who support him helps to restore his faith, keep going, and lift his spirits so that he rarely goes back to that dark mentality. All these moments just warm my heart, as cheesy as that is to say. They lift my spirits, as well as make me feel better. This moment in particular. This episode made me love the show because it set the precedent for each episode having these kinds of moments to brighten my mood. I wish I had a Raphtalia during those dark times. Without her, I could easily imagine Naofumi being driven to insanity and, at worst, suicide because of all the pain he had to go through. I should know since I almost felt that way myself. So Raphtalia always being there to help him through it is what alone makes me love her. With her, Naofumi becomes a bit more cheerful now that he has someone he can trust. Seeing Naofumi happy makes me happy. Oh, and Raphtalia is in love with Naofumi. While this does lead to a bunch of funny moments, correct me if I'm wrong, but while she has grown physically, she's still a child, right? Honestly, I'm not sure how to feel about this. But that certainly isn't the last of Naofumi's party, as the next episode brought another amazing addition to the group in the form of Filo. It's safe to say that she already made a great first impression on me when she was only in her not chocobo form. Yes! 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 Oh, in the dick! Okay, I love her already. Then she turns into a little girl? FBI, open up! Filo is where a lot of my comedic enjoyment of the series comes from. I love how expressive she is in both her forms. The animation makes a lot of her reactions very exaggerated and cartoony to the point that I find it incredibly charming. This is greatly backed up by how cute I think a lot of her moments are. Can I say that without sounding creepy? Her childish innocence, goofy mannerisms, and bad habits help to play her comedic and cute factors even more. I think the best thing about Filo is how her role in the group further pushes the wholesome interactions amongst the main cast. She has her own indirect way of supporting Naofumi, that being him having to take on a much more parental role with her, so it further brings out Naofumi's caring side in addition to having another person to help ease his pain. It's like having a puppy that cheers you up when you play with it. This applies to Filo towards Raphtalia as well. They have a mixture of their own wholesome moments, as well as funny moments where Filo gets jealous of Raphtalia trying to get Naofumi's affection. Man, who would have thought the chicken girl would be such a cockblocker? But they're still both there for Naofumi, and that's good enough for me. In regards to this sort of battle for affection, personally, I always interpreted Filo's love for Naofumi as being the same as love towards a parent, with her saying things like wanting to make him her mate being her not understanding what that actually means due to her age. Though this is Japan, so they could make it really weird. Speaking of which, Moriyasu is in love with Filo. Now I have another reason for why I hate Moriyasu. He's a pedophile. Come on, Filo. Please, please kick him in the crotch again. Yes! 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 With the support of Japan's redesigns of Mordecai and Rigby, Naofumi starts to progressively bounce back from his situation. I like seeing Naofumi slowly build up a following through all the people that he's helped. though he doesn't do it for free. Instead, he'll only help people if they'll give him a reward in return. I think this helps to further differentiate Naofumi from other isekai protagonists. He's a hero, but he possesses some anti-hero qualities by acting based on what benefits his part. Wait a minute! Is that? I find it more natural this way, as while Naofumi can trust Raphtalia and Filo, I imagine that all those trust issues wouldn't just automatically go away. He still wants to ensure that he isn't deceived again. But ultimately, he's still a good guy. In fact, out of the 4 heroes, Naofumi is the only one that has any right to be called a hero. Due to his experiences, Naofumi knows that this is a living, cruel world. Meanwhile, because the other 3 heroes have had such an easy time since being brought here, they only see this world as like a video game. As such, they are extremely neglectful of their duties as heroes and fail to consider the consequences of their actions. I like the idea that Naofumi's struggles make him a better hero in the end, as it makes him understand the responsibilities behind being a hero, despite how much he dislikes being the shield hero due to all the shit that came with it. Like how during the first wave the heroes fought in, Naofumi went out of his way to defend the village, while the other heroes only went after the boss, or the shield hero party having to clean up the mess caused by the other heroes. There is another thing that separates Naofumi from the Free Cardinal Stooges, as he calls them: the Curse series skills. When Naofumi's hatred towards the world grows stronger again, he gets access to a variety of shields with incredible offensive abilities. However, activating these skills causes him to become fully consumed by rage, where he only thinks about killing everything. This is how this series tackles the overpowered main character cliché of isekais, and I think it's done very well here, as while the curse skills are overpowered, they have an obvious drawback. Plus, the themes and requirements of the curse skills correlate to what already makes Shield Hero different from standard isekais, which in of itself makes this approach unique from the get-go. This further highlights the concept of Naofumi becoming a better hero through his struggles, in the sense that it makes him stronger for use in desperate situations. I wouldn't be surprised if the other cardinal weapons also had curse series, but because the other heroes have had such an easy time, they've never reached anywhere near the same level of rage that Naofumi felt to unlock it. Luckily, Raphtalia is still there to pull Naofumi out of the darkness. After watching this episode, I started to realize something. I thought, at this point, the only characters that I like are Naofumi, Raphtalia, Filo, and Elhart the Blacksmith. I hate pretty much every other important character, yet I love this show. How's that possible? For as angry as the characters I dislike make me, the characters I like and the writing overcloud those feelings with pure comfort. Thankfully, I was soon introduced to another character who joined the group of those I like. Melty. Under different circumstances, I may not have had as positive of a first impression with her, considering one important detail. She's mine's sister. Fortunately, Melty is the exact opposite of mine. She's kind, far more mature, and most importantly, is not a bitch. That's precisely why she's next in line to the throne despite being the second princess. See? Even the royal family knows how much of a bitch mine is. Melty doesn't have a bad bone in her body, which I greatly appreciate given how much this world's general population is composed of assholes. Especially the royal family members that are around right now. She knows that Naofumi is innocent, though he doesn't want anything to do with her because of her being royalty, which, yeah, I understand that. I was glad to see him learn to trust her in the second half because she is repeatedly helpful to him. Anybody that can put mine in her place instantly gets on the list of characters I like. Now, on to the next wave. I never really had an opportunity to talk about this earlier, but this series surpassed my expectations in regards to the action to a huge extent. When discovering the series, I thought that action wouldn't be a very big focus because the main character fights with a shield. I couldn't have been more wrong though. On top of just being awesome in general, the series' action is also very creative of how Naofumi utilizes the shield's skills, especially when in tandem with Raphtalia and Filo's offensive equipment. Even outside of the curse skills, they find ways of making the shield's normally defensive abilities utilized as a method of attack. Here, defense is also the best offense. It repeats the unconventional powers leading to more strategic fight scenes point that I brought up with Golden Wind, as Shield Hero also does it extremely well, leading to a lot of fights being super memorable. The curse skills still take precedent when it comes to the offensive capabilities of the shield, as well as being the most epic, like Naofumi practically one-shotting the Soul Eater with the badass Iron Maiden skill. Then things get a lot tougher when Glass shows up. Based on the opening, I guessed that she would be a major villain, so the fact that she's challenging Naofumi at this point in the series had me suspecting that this would be the equivalent to an unwinnable boss fight. And that ended up being precisely the case. So... I don't have a good segue into this, but I love this scene with Naofumi and the king, because Naofumi just owns him so hard, telling him to beg if he wants to know about the curse skills, and when he brings Raphtalia and Filo into it, Naofumi threatens him in the coldest, most rebellious way I have ever seen. I felt so smug watching this scene for the first time. Seeing the king squirm gives me so much satisfaction. Now I reach the second half, where the Shield Hero party gets screwed over way more than they did previously. Mine becomes an even more detestable, psychotic bitch, as she wants to have Melty assassinated so she can inherit the throne. Plus, when Naofumi's party protects Melty, she frames them for kidnapping her, making them public enemy number 1 all over again. Just when I thought I couldn't hate you even more than I already did, you found a way to make my anger rise to levels I never knew were possible, you bitch! That's all I can say! If only Raphtalia used a real sword here. My rage at this point had not subsided any less by the time that I got to seeing Raphtalia's previous slave owner in the goddamn tearjerker episode. Of course, this takes me on to Rifana's death. It was so soul-crushing to see Raphtalia completely lose hope and blame herself. After all the emotional support she had given before, seeing her just totally broken here is so disheartening. But that's when Naofumi comes in by reminding her of all the good she's done for him and everyone else. I love this moment so much, despite the tragic circumstances around it. It shows that Naofumi is also there to pull Raphtalia out of the depths of despair, just like she did for him, giving me yet another heartwarming feeling knowing that they both have each other's backs and support one another. It also shows Naofumi becoming more accepting of being the Shield Hero, which I love for further demonstrating his character growth by having his faith gradually restored as well as being used to reassure Raphtalia that she deserves to be by his side. By the end of this episode, I was so ready to jump into the screen and kill this prick myself. Good thing the random T-Rex did it for me. Jumping a bit ahead because I didn't have much to say until getting to the scene between Naofumi and Vittoria. Cause honestly, this scene really bugs me. Vittoria wants the heroes to stop fighting, otherwise she'll fricking kill them all! But Naofumi, understandably, doesn't want to make up with them considering they're all dickheads who assumed he was guilty. Then Vittoria asks, "Did you try hard enough?" I'm sorry, what?! Naofumi was never even given the chance to defend himself, let alone for anybody to believe him. How is he supposed to do anything else? I feel like my intelligence is being insulted here. It doesn't matter if this country is full of idiots who refuse to believe that false accusations do happen, like all the feminists who threw a tantrum over the first episode. It's Naofumi's fault that nobody believes him, apparently. Well, now he's got to listen to Vittoria's idea by trying to patch things up himself. So, who are we talking to for— oh, for fuck's sake! Screw it! Just fight him! It was my pleasure to finally see Moriyasu get his ass kicked now that this is a fair fight, proving that the Shield Hero party is the best party. Next— oh shit, they're being attacked by those who slither in the dark! Or rather the church, because the Pope is evil! I never thought I would ever say that sentence in my entire life. He's surprisingly one of the few people to actually call out the Cardinal Stooges on their bullshit, yet ropes Naofumi in with them because he didn't say thank you for the holy water. Yeah, his religion views the shield hero as a devil, but he specifically brings up the holy water for some reason. So he wants to kill them all now. Faced with overwhelming power from the Pope's ability, now Fumi's got no other choice but to use the Curse series again, with him giving into the rage completely this time. Now it's up to Raphtalia, Filo, and Melty to subside his anger by reminding them of all the good he's done for them, in addition to just how much he means to all of them. I love this moment so much as well, because it shows that everybody who Naofumi cares about are there to support him by always being there for him to keep him going and not get engulfed by all his negative emotions and pain. I actually got a bit emotional at this part. Not gonna lie, when first seeing this, all I could think of was, it's so touching! I love this show! As Naofumi asks for aid from the other heroes, thus begins the epic battle against the Pope, being one of the few times where the other heroes are actually competent. I'd already gotten addicted to the first opening theme ever since I first heard it, so having it play here made it even more awesome to me. I guess it's because of his holy magic, but I was taken aback to see the Pope survive all these insane attacks that should be fatal for any other scrawny, middle-aged man without armor, yet somehow surviving without a scratch. That is where the curse skills come in to finish the job, this time with the Blood Sacrifice finisher. I thought Iron Maiden was already incredible enough, but Blood Sacrifice totally blew it out of the water with how over the top, satisfying, and gruesome it was, even if it nearly kills Naofumi in the process. So that is when the Queen finally comes into play. I heard many people say that things get really good once the Queen returns, so I had high anticipations upon seeing her properly arrive in this episode. My anticipations grew ever stronger when seeing the title of the next episode. Then seeing the preview for the next episode had me learn what those people meant. Yes! Oh God, yes! Mine and the King are put on trial for all the shit they've done, with Mine being given a slave crest that electrocutes her whenever she lies. I have never felt such a strong feeling of satisfaction before in my life from seeing Mine suffer as they finally get their comeuppance by being exposed for conspiring with the church, Mine trying to assassinate Melty, and best of all... Finally! Even Moriyasu gets the rude awakening he's had coming for so long. But it gets better! They are both sentenced to be executed! Not even Moriyasu is coming to your defense now, Mine. She gets so desperate that she literally begs Naofumi to save her. It's so good! However, I agree with Naofumi's objection that death is too good for them. Instead, they shall get something far more deserving, as the King and Mine's names are legally changed to Trash and Bitch, respectively, with Mine's adventurer name being changed to Slut. At around the halfway point of the series, I thought, can we just change Mine's name to Bitch after this is all done? So I fucking lost my shit when seeing that that's what actually happens. I couldn't stop laughing at their new names. I find this a way more fitting punishment for them, as now they have to live the rest of their lives in humiliation, stripped of their royalty with everyone hating them, as they now know them for the scumbags they truly are, so nobody will ever trust them again. It got even better when I later learned that Bitch keeps her slave crest so she'll continually be shocked when she lies. I had such a big smirk on my face throughout this episode. After all this time, the anger they gave me had been quenched, and it was so much more amazing than I imagined. With his name cleared, Naofumi fully accepts his role as the shield hero and vows to protect the world from the waves, making me feel so happy. At last getting all the praise he deserves too. The ending of this episode really felt like a finale, so I was surprised to know that there was still 4 more episodes after this. But I wasn't complaining. For the next 2 episodes, the party have a nice, relaxing time heading to and training at Calmira, with not too much shit to put up with, including a beach scene! Of course! We hadn't filled that quota yet, but one of the biggest things to come out of this arc is the introduction to Lark and Therese. I had an inkling that they would be somewhat significant given their appearances in the second opening, which grew stronger after I heard people saying, the Scythe guy is pretty important. They seem alright at first, then during the next wave, especially after the boss is defeated, I felt that Lark was acting a bit shifty. My last second suspicions resulted in me making the correct prediction just before the reveal. They're bad guys. They are actually allies of Glass. Ah, Glass! I was wondering where you were for the past 12 episodes. Now for the rematch. As I started watching episode 25, I couldn't help but get this strong feeling of sadness, knowing that this is the last episode. This is where we learn some of Glass's backstory, being that she, Lark, and Therese are heroes from a different world, which is fighting its own waves. So they need to kill the 4 heroes to save their world from destruction. I think this is a very interesting concept behind the story's main conflict. In order for one world to survive, the other has to die. It means the conflict isn't simply black and white by giving the bad guys very noble intentions to the point that they could well be considered good if they were the protagonists of the story instead. Here, Naofumi starts to question what his reason for protecting the world actually is, given that Glass has a much stronger motivation behind her actions. Then comes the perfect roundup of Naofumi's development throughout the series. Naofumi decides that his reason for wanting to save the world is because Raphtalia, Filo, and Melty are in it. Oh, yes! Let's beat her by getting her drunk! Unless they abruptly end the fight by fleeing. Yeah, I did think this aspect of the episode felt a bit rushed. The fight ending early on had me thinking, what are they gonna do for the rest of this episode? So I was pleasantly surprised when several scenes later, I saw the formal introduction to another character. Rishia, or Rishia. She has like 2 different names, and I'm honestly more used to calling her by the latter, but I'll use the former just so I don't piss people off. She had some small appearances in the past couple of episodes, which gave me the impression that she was simply some comedic side character. However, that all changed when properly meeting her here. She was in Itsuki's party, but the rest of the party framed her for breaking one of his favorite accessories. He blindly believed them, so he kicked her out over such a petty reason. Left feeling worthless, she tried to drown herself. I felt so bad for her after seeing this. I sympathize with Rishia's low self-esteem and considering herself useless. I know I say this for every single character with that trait, but it's true! I'm basically the same! That is where Naofumi comes in by offering her to join his party. So welcome to the better group. Fuck Itsuki. I like how this further shows Naofumi's development as he sees Rishia being in a similar situation to what he was, so he wants to help her in the same way the others helped him. I already thought Rishia was kinda cute in her previous appearances, but that grew even stronger after this scene, partially because of that. I think she's adorable. Plus, and I think a lot of you have figured this out by now, I'm a huge sucker for shy girl characters. I've only known Rishia for 1 episode, but if anything were to happen to her, I'd kill everyone in this world and then myself. Lastly, what better way would there be to end off this show than with one final heartwarming moment? As Raphtalia begs Naofumi to stay, even after the waves are gone, because she doesn't want to think of a life without him, Naofumi makes a big revelation. He plans to stay in this world and protect it as the shield hero. Again, I love this moment. Naofumi went from despising the world, only fighting for his own survival so he can return home once the waves had passed, to wanting to remain here, fight the waves for the purpose of defending the world, and wearing the title of the Shield Hero with pride. All because he was given a reason to do so. The gradual transition between these 2 points across the show was done so well in my opinion. As I saw Naofumi change towards his new goal piece by piece throughout, so I can find it super believable that he would feel this way by the end. This is precisely what I meant when I said the reason why I love Naofumi's character is because of how he evolves throughout the story at the beginning. I think it has such an amazing payoff. I see the show as partially one big character arc for Naofumi. And if that's fully the intention, then I can say it is phenomenal. Now that the Shield Hero has risen, I had reached the end. And I felt so depressed when it had sunk in. Despite how angry this show made me when seeing all the shit that Naofumi had to go through, it was more than made up for by all the joy, relaxed, and heartwarming feelings I got when watching. That wouldn't have been the case if it wasn't for Shield Hero's incredibly lovable main characters, the touching chemistry between said characters, and the very character-driven narrative with so many unique themes in the writing. After that, you have all the icing on the cake of the great action with the one character other than Captain America that makes fighting with just the shield awesome. In fact, I have a much greater appreciation for shields now. Granted, I have seen a lot of people who've read the light novels who hated some of the changes the anime made, particularly with the trial, but since I'm anime only, I can't really comment on that. Honestly, this show is one of my highlights of the year. Shield Hero ended up in the same vein as Konosuba, where a big part of why I love it, which helped me get even more enjoyment out of watching it, was because it kind of acted as therapy, as whenever it brightened my mood, it made me forget all my troubles. Albeit they do that for different reasons. Wednesdays became one of the days I would look forward to the most, because it meant I get to watch the next episode. I mean, episode 18 literally came out on my birthday. So it's like they knew. Even the 30-second previews that got uploaded every Friday was something I highly anticipated. I'm not joking! I even found myself regularly checking the Shield Hero Twitter account as a way of holding over the wait for episodes. And I don't even use Twitter! That's how much I grew to love Shield Hero and how obsessed I became with it, making the adjustment to life without it all the more harder. Now, I did originally have this whole rant planned out about how much I need a season 2, but they had other plans. I'm so bored! You know what? I'll just look at the Shield Hero Twitter. I doubt there's anything on there because it hasn't had anything to post about lately, but I've got nothing else to do!